This podcast is sponsored by Release Winery. Every wine tells a story. Each growing season, it's our goal to create an artisan Napa Valley wine of exceptional quality. Join us as the story of this ultra-limited wine continues. Learn more at releasewinery.com.
Yeah, you bet. It's a 2016 Chardonnay. It's a single clone Chardonnay, so it's called the Spring Mountain Clone, or the Selection, that was made a long time ago. It's grown at the River West Vineyard in the far northern end of the Alexander Valley, which is a warmer area of the Russian River. The Russian River Valley, which is a warmer area of the Russian River. And we call it the gravel lens, so that's the fanciful name for this year, is the gravel lens. Yeah, because underneath the soil there's these piles of gravel here and there. So as the river meandered around, you know when you're flying over areas in the plain and you look down and you see where there's the river, but then there's all those little areas that have been carved out. Of course, the rivers that wander around. And so the river in its meanderings has dropped piles of gravel here and there in the slow spots. And then it's gone on to chart its own course nowadays. So the vineyard has grown over areas that the river used to be flowing through, and part of the vineyard is growing over these gravel lenses. And right where you're on top of the lens, the vines actually get pretty stunted. So the gravel lens is just kind of an homage to the fact that we've got these gravel lenses we're growing on. The vines are a little shorter in those areas, but then outside of those areas where there's a little more soil, the vines will grow to their normal length. So it's really, the blend is made from the single clone, but grown on these lenses, and then the areas that don't have these lenses.
Cool. I think I need to try it now.
Yeah. So it's barrel fermented in French oak, one new barrel and one old French oak barrel, and then we've blended them together to make this wine.
Cheers.
Cheers.
You were making a point before, the idea of serving it too cold. Mm-hmm. And for our listeners, that's an important point. Can you go through that again for me?
Yeah. In my impression of Chardonnay or a white wine in particular is when you serve it chilled down, you accentuate the acidity. And when it warms up, it accentuates the richness and the volume in the mid-palate. And so depending on how you like your wines, and the aromas change too though, so that's important as well. I think the oak aromas come out as it warms up, and when it's chilled down there's less of that, and I think you'll get more fruit. But between both of those things, you might find the wine to be pretty different, more different than I think most people would realize. And it's something to try at home. And I honestly think it's one of the cool things about wine is that you see this evolution of the aromas and the different things that you taste and the flavors as you sit there from the first glass and as it warms up. Yeah, you occasionally will taste food and wine that doesn't work, and it becomes very obvious when that happens. But I can say it doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen sometimes. And even with our own wines, sometimes things are a little surprising. I've had Cabernet, for instance, with white fish, but it was blackened on one side and it went well. So there's things that you ought to just try, even if you don't think it'll work, and you might be surprised.
This podcast is sponsored by Release Winery. Every wine tells a story. Each growing season, it's our goal to create an artisan Napa Valley wine of exceptional quality. Join us as the story of this ultra-limited wine continues. Learn more at releasewinery.com.